Yes, welcome back to another episode of Go Long Live. I am your host, Barry Long, the second, not the first, not the third. I am the second. We are live on CoachellaValley.com. We are live on today's California.com. We are live on today's Canada.com. We are all over the Twitterverse, all over the universe, all over the metaverse. Shout out to everybody who has been tuning in, everybody who has been commenting, everybody's been sharing the show. We appreciate it so much. We're going to talk today about the NBA All-Star Weekend. We had a lot of festivities going on. I mean, the halftime performance was ridiculous. It was the longest halftime I've ever seen in the history of sports. We also had, quite a bit of people talking smack about the slam dunk contest and how uneventful it was. We're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about the three-point contest. We're going to talk about the dust-up between two coaches in college basketball, Juwan Howard and Greg Gard, the guy from Michigan and the guy from Wisconsin. They have some penalties. There's some breaking news that we're going to break down here, as well as LeBron James has not ruled out that he may return to Cleveland. Cleveland's playing well right now with some of the up-and-coming talent that has been rising to the top. So we will be talking all that. But without any further ado, let me bring in my main man, Rudy Reyes. Rudy, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Good to be back on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you stay for the entire 30 minutes. I know it's tough. It's difficult. It's tough to swallow, just like that left hook from Juwan Howard. Wait. Okay.
Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that.
I'll put him on boxing.
Shout out to Osman Hussein. Osman Hussein says he likes the Golden State Warriors. Shout out to Osman Hussein. We'll talk about Curry because Chef Curry was cooking last night. He had a historic performance at the All-Star game. We'll talk about that as well. Let's you brought it up. You brought it up. Let's talk about Juwan Howard, man. So we saw Juwan Howard, Michigan head coach. They were down by 14 to Wisconsin, and then all of a sudden, Michigan was still trapping. They were still doing the full court press. Wisconsin almost had a 10-second violation. They called a timeout to restart the 10-second violation, the 10-second clock, and Juwan Howard took offense to it. And after the game, they always do these post-game handshakes, and the teams line up and they all walk by each other, say good game, good game, good game. Well, Juwan Howard was a little bit upset and did not want to say anything to Greg Gard. He ended up getting in the line, and Greg Gard wanted and kind of stopped him. And we have a video of that. And then it proceeded to become a mini altercation between the two coaches, in which it was broken up. But Juwan Howard proceeds to throw his hands, and I'm not sure whether it was a punch. It was an open hand slap. And he ended up hitting an assistant coach from Wisconsin in the face with an open hand slap. And it was just melee after that. We saw players starting to fight. Here's the clip of what we saw on Sunday.
It looks pretty nasty. It looks like Gard is really, it's about him keeping his guard up. And I think Juwan Howard has a lot to say, a lot of going on, right? A lot of people in the mix.
Here's the punch.
Up in the mix. It almost is... If he was trying out for the UFC for a moment there, I don't know if Juwan Howard would get in or not, but Sean Merriman, sign him up. This has nothing to do with the basketball game and everything to do with the fact that Gard called it in less than 14 seconds left on the clock, which is a slap in the face. No pun intended. Maybe there was. I don't care. Absolutely. You don't do that. There's a certain etiquette, okay? That etiquette was not followed. Gard had no business holding his left hand on a Juwan Howard's arm, okay? Unless Gard didn't watch any film on Juwan Howard when he was a Wolverine or when he was in the NBA, and you said it best, it's not good. It's an ugly look for Juwan Howard, who issued his own apology. Gard and his athletic department stating that, and I read this verbatim, but I'm going to give you the cliff notes. This is a Wisconsin fine. This isn't just strictly on Gard. This is not on just any given player, any student athlete. They did, however, commend the student athletes for having everything to do with trying to mitigate the situation and disabling this from really getting out of control. It almost reminds me of that Pacers game with Reggie Miller. But at the end of the day, this is really about what Juwan Howard's track record has been, what he has exhibited in the past. I mean, if you look at those eyes, it almost look like he looked at $1,000 bill from Applebee's. I mean, he looked like he will hurt something ecstatic in his life. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he got any sleep last night or what the case was, but I mean, he's looking at you like, what? I'm going to slap
He
you
looks like
too,
the Pink Panther.
Yeah, he just looks, and his eyes are a little pink too. Maybe a little too much.
So Rudy, what you're saying is you're blaming Greg Gard more, or are you blaming Juwan Howard? Because
no. What I'm saying is that Gard already knew his body language. Don't forget, Juwan Howard's a good 6'3". Okay, the guy he's not a small guy. Gard maybe on a good day 6 foot soaking wet. Okay, if you're a guard. You don't approach a Juwan Howard. Again, you have to watch your film and say, this guy has a propensity of getting out of control quickly. Things escalate with Juwan Howard. We've seen him do it time and time again. Now, again, as a Wolverine, as a head coach in the NBA, this guy has a fuse shorter than a dachshund. I mean, this is just an absolutely horrible attempt by Juwan Howard at what? Did he want to be in the news? Was it his 15 minutes of fame or 15 seconds to be the man of the hour or whatnot? Juwan Howard certainly talks about in his apology to offset Gard's apology or the athletic department per se, PR move from Wisconsin. But they made a really good point in stating that, the player athletes, the student athletes rather, were the ones who helped mitigate and kind of calm the situation down. The assistant coach is also doing the very same thing. But it was as if Michigan was out to make a point. There's 5 games less in the season, and Juwan Howard is a guy who will not be there for any of them. Their schedule does favor them to be the last to get in the bubble, but their bubble could be bursted with some upsets along the way. They have to win out the rest against Rutgers and other teams. They have a good chance of winning against Rutgers, but everybody else is kind of in the 70, 25-ish range and whatnot. So without Juwan Howard there as their fateful leader, one could probably ask, what's next for Juwan Howard? Does he retain being a coach in the following season? Does he not? Is this apology enough for Wisconsin fans? Is it enough for Greg Gard? Who I would say moving forward, if you're Greg Gard, keep your guard up because you don't know this could really escalate into something ugly in the following season. Heaven forbid. Not that I'm condoning this because this is irreprehensible by Juwan Howard and the student athletes getting involved, throwing punches. This is just not. It's not a good look. Okay,
at all.
No, in any way, shape, or form, this is not a good look. Just like it wasn't when Matthew Stafford was being interviewed and photographs taken when the reporter fell off stage, hurt her back. Him and his wife are going to pay for medical expenses. Well, the only medical expense that Greg Gard's going to have is a piece of flap steak over his eye because now I'm sure it's purple.
He apparently he got the assistant coach Babelcock or whatever his last name is. That guy. But my opinion is that Greg Gard obviously knew what he was doing when he stopped Juwan Howard. I mean, first of all, the timeout, that's an unspoken rule in the basketball that if you're blowing the team out, who cares about the 10-second violation? Let your guys do it. I get it that they were backups. But Greg Gard, after knowing that he called a timeout, knowing the unspoken rules of basketball himself, because he is a student of the game himself, he's a damn college coach. So knowing that, and knowing that Juwan Howard was upset, I think that him stopping him is what really initially instigated this. I feel like Juwan Howard took it to the next level. And what Juwan Howard's actions were so drastic and so, crazy, his reaction to being stopped by Greg Gard, that Greg Gard actually is not in the wrong anymore. Now Juwan Howard is in the wrong because he's throwing hands. And not only is he supposed to be a leader of men, those are young guys, 18 to 22 years old. Their testosterone is through the roof. They can't wait to fight. They're ready to get it cracking at any second of any time. And Juwan Howard has to be the adult in the room. And what we saw was the opposite. We saw the kids pulling the adults back and the kids being the adults in the room. And I thought it was just disgusting.
It was very poor taste.
It was poor taste. And Juwan Howard has got to be a little bit more calm and cool-headed and collected than what he displayed.
He's not, though. He's not.
I understand that.
You have to know when to say when.
But we saw him do this last year. We saw him have to be physically restrained last year against Maryland. Okay, so
Right.
his assistants, and I also blame the assistant coaches because every time that there's always an assistant coach on every staff that when the coach is getting onto the court or the coach is getting onto the field and he's about to get a penalty or something, then there's always an assistant coach that pulls him back. Or when a coach gets heated, there should always be somebody who is right there and make sure that he doesn't blow a gasket. He is the damn head coach. Now, I blame the assistant coaches for not stepping up. And also, the assistant coach from Wisconsin should have done the same thing for Greg Gard. But he got his face in there. He wanted to pour oil on the fire, and it erupted. And we saw a disgusting display in college basketball that we hope to not see again. Now, they have suspended Juwan Howard for 5 games. The rest of the regular season, it's only 5 games. They've been fined $40,000. And Wisconsin coach Greg Gard has not been suspended, but he has fined $20,000. And the assistant coach, who I guess took the hand from Juwan Howard, he would not be suspended at all. He would not be punished at all. But yeah, I mean, I think Juwan Howard he's built up enough equity to where he's still going to be the head coach of Michigan moving forward. But I think that he is on very thin ice. And one more dust up, one more explosion of his anger, then I feel like he'll be gone. What do you say?
Well, I look at it like this. When you look at what happened to Pompeii, when that volcano exploded, everything was wiped out in its path. It came down with roaring thunder. It came down with ash. And if Juwan Howard is not careful in his next move before he overthinks what he should be doing, he should really think about what he shouldn't be doing. And that's getting in fights and brawls and having people pull him aside. I mean, he has to have a lot more restraint with losing, winning, being
it made him look like a sore loser too, didn't it?
It absolutely did. And now here's the entire problem. You have 5 games left. You have a possible bubble play, and you're still on the bubble. Of course, all these teams are heading into March Madness. I was watching a game earlier when Oklahoma was giving Baylor a run for their money. They were leading by 3. I mean, there are so many different instances where, and of course, Oklahoma had an NCAA violation with FBI investigators, so on and so forth. They're playing 500 basketball. But against Baylor, they look really, really strong. They're moving the ball up the court. They're playing defense on the other end. I wish the NBA would know how to spell that. And it's more about the NCAA playing really good ball. Now, don't forget, this is on the road. This is in Oklahoma City. So they have the ability, maybe there's a home field advantage in basketball. And I think there is, more so than probably any other sport you could possibly play on.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so Michigan right now is 8th in the Big Ten. They're 14-11, barely over 500. They are on the bubble, like you said. They may not get into the tournament, especially if they lose these 5 games without Juwan Howard as their head coach. Now, I personally think that if I'm in the committee, you look back at their track record. Last year, Michigan had a little good run in the tournament. They made it all the way to the Elite 8, losing to UCLA. They also are now in the spotlight because if you're the NCAA and you're the selection committee, you're thinking, okay, the last couple of years after the pandemic, our ratings have been tanking. They've been going down. It's hard to get eyeballs on the screens every single day during this tournament. So if I'm the committee, hey, right now Michigan they're kind of in the news. And if we put them in the tournament, if they're on the bubble and they get in, then maybe that brings eyeballs because they are a controversial team right now. They're in the news, Juwan Howard, this whole situation. So I think that gets them in and their track record from last year. What do you say?
I look at Michigan, I think to myself, man, if it's not Jarn Harbaugh losing the season for the Michigan Wolverine football team, now it's Juwan Howard barely, on the bubble and possibly not even get in unless they win out of these next 5 games. So it's kind of a topsy-turvy between the Michigan football team and the Michigan basketball team. But you have to be leaders of men, and Juwan Howard did not exhibit that whatsoever yesterday against Greg Gard. And again, and now look at it like this. Again, 5 games left. Now let's just say they make it. Let's say they get it. They have the ability to run the table. They are that strong. They have enough lengthy bodies. They have a lot of great shooters. You got a lot of solid players, great student athletes. And I can't say I know them by name or interview them by name or so on and so forth. But just watching them play, they have the propensity of being a very, very good team, better than what their number indicates. The problem is that your number indicates where your seating is and whether or not you're going to get in the tourney or not get in the tourney. March Madness last year, you've seen teams do the very same thing. Get on the bubble, but find their way to burst out of it and call it a day. You said it earlier last year against UCLA. UCLA was on fire. I mean, they were absolutely on fire. They played that way all season long. I can't say so much for USC, but UCLA certainly knew how to get it done. USC flubbered out earlier in the season. But the bottom line is that if Michigan finds a way to win these 5 games, Juwan Howard comes back. Now, if you're Juwan Howard, how do you control yourself? Right? He needs some counseling. He's got 5 days to get some counseling.
Got to get some anger management.
Where that's gonna, if that's gonna help him or not, I don't know. But if you're Juwan Howard, you have to ask yourself, am I the problem or am I part of the solution? I think part of the solution is for him to get some anger management classes right in that one. And not only that, but he's got to look out more for his team.
Yeah.
And where they could be if he continues his outbursts, or where they could find themselves if he learns
think about it. Think about it. Because after he throws that punch or that open hand slap or the mush or whatever you want to call it, after he throws his hand, then all the players, they start throwing hands too. And think about if God forbid he would have hit one of those kids with the hand. But think about if one of his players knocks out one of their players, and that guy gets suspended for 5 games or for the rest of the season and the postseason. So this could have been a lot worse. If the fans would have gotten involved. Juwan Howard, this is your program. You are the leader of a freaking collegiate program, the University of Michigan at that. You've got to keep your wits about you. I don't care what was said. I don't care if they said anything racially. I don't care if they said anything about your mom. I don't care what happens. You've got to keep your cool and your wits about you, and you've got to be the adult in the room, and you cannot have your players holding you back. It's just ridiculous. But we got Bill Cinso in the house. Shout out to Bill Cinso. He says hi, Barry and Rudy. It was just an interesting thing to see, but we'll definitely be keeping up and following along with Michigan basketball. I expect them to be in the tournament, regardless of how these next 5 games go. But we are live on CoachellaValley.com, today's California.com, today's Canada.com. Shout out to Craig Campbell. We appreciate you for the platform. We are, he's Rudy Reyes. I am Barry Long II. Now, we had All-Star Weekend this past weekend, and it began with the 3-point contest. Was the first highlight that a lot of people were talking about. Karl Anthony Towns, he wins the 3-point contest over great shooters. You had Fred VanVleet, you had Luke Kennard, you had Trae Young, you had Patty Mills. There was a lot of different shooters. He was the only big man in the competition. We typically see a big man from year to year, here and there. But Karl Anthony Towns was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic shooting threes. And after in the interview, he just came out and said, basically, I've always thought that I am one of the greatest shooting big men in the entire sport in the history of the NBA, and now this validates it. So we haven't, big men didn't used to shoot threes back in the day when you and I were young. It's kind of that stretch 5 has kind of evolved over time. But I would certainly say that Karl Anthony Towns definitely proved that he's one of the best shooters in the league.
Yeah, no, he's very good. I've always had, he's in a small market. He plays in a team that doesn't get a ton of highlights, not a lot of ESPN time, kind of gets overshadowed by the rest of the teams. I think that Karl Anthony Towns is kind of what Joel Embiid is to the East, right? So we look at his 3-point shooting, we look at his perimeter shooting, we look at what he does in the paint so well. Yeah. He's a willing passer when he needs to be. Karl Anthony Towns is a guy who can nail those threes. I love watching him shoot those money balls. Those are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're way beyond 3. Steph Curry-esque kind of range. I'm just saying. You look at him. You look at his physique. He's not extremely bulky, but what he is very long. Yeah. And when you're long outside of being bulky, that means you have a lot more fluid motion. And I'm not suggesting that Karl Anthony Towns is a weakling by any means. I wouldn't want to get in a boxing ring with him, or maybe Juwan Howard. But I look at Karl Anthony Towns. I think to myself, this guy has got something going on. Put them in the ring together. You never know.
And you know what? And I was rooting for Karl Anthony Towns because he was the underdog in this competition because he was a big man. But also, the story of him losing his mother to COVID, and also like 6 or 7 other family members. I mean, COVID really hit his family hard, and just to see him, with a smile on his face and enjoying the accolade of being the 3-point competition winner was incredible to me.
Very
but
happy for him.
we had a slam dunk competition that people were very upset with. I mean, you should have saw Twitter; it was going crazy.
It was. I was on it.
Yeah. Jalen Green was the biggest disappointment of the night. He had about 7 attempts this one time, and you're supposed to only get 3 attempts, right? So this guy kept missing dunk after dunk after dunk. And what happened was they weren't official attempts because he didn't control the ball with his hand and he actually hit the rim. So literally this guy is out there attempting the same dunk, and it felt like an eternity. It felt like he was out there for 30 minutes. And I looked at my son and I said, man, this is cheating. This is obviously cheating. and the crowd wanted him because he's such a great in-game dunker for the Houston Rockets. He's a rookie. The crowd really was behind him. You had Cole Anthony, who is Greg Anthony's son. He did all this extra stuff. He put on some Timberland boots. And I mean, it got out of hand. These guys were missing dunks. It wasn't like when Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins and Spud Webb, these guys were out there on the first attempt, knocking down some of the greatest dunks we've ever seen. But this thing just kept going on and on and on. And you're like, dude, how many attempts are they going to give him? But overall, I believe that Obi Toppin was, the better dunker of the night. And I didn't think that a lot of people really understood his last dunk when he goes between his legs. He touches the backboard and then slams it and flushes it.
He didn't even slam it. He didn't. He had no slam. There was no authority.
There was
no emphasis. It was
such the degree of difficulty.
Backboard. Who cares? The degree of difficulty. Heck, that could be me. I could pull that off. Are you joking? I mean, look. He barely goes up. He uses the backboard a little touch, and then he touches it into the hoop. Dude, are you serious? Every slam dunk contest I've ever seen, ever in my life, has been people with authority. Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan. I mean,
Dwight Howard,
Isaiah Smith, D. Howard. I mean, these guys were slam dunk artists, not backboard artists, not Picasso artists. We're talking slam dunk.
Yeah,
that's what it should have been. But Obi Toppin, that was a horrible display. I think they should veto the entire slam dunk contest.
Really?
It was soft. Softer than a hot knife through butter. It was absolutely horrible. I would not vote for that. I would say veto the whole dang thing.
All right. So would you say that the 3-point contest should be flip-flopped and the 3-point contest should be the highlight of the night? Should be the headliner?
Absolutely. You give them 4 money ball, 5. You give them 5 money balls plus the money ball on each one of the trays with the balls on them, and then you give bonus shots on those. Give them 60 seconds. Forget the 30. Give them 60.
Yeah.
So these guys can shoot that ball from afar. They can shoot from Steph Curry range. If they really want to go for it, you hit one from half court. Boom. Yeah. There you go.
They might add that in a 3-point competition. I really like that because of the range that Steph Curry displays and Damian Lillard, and how common it's becoming to see NBA players shoot from that range. I believe that they will add that. Now, all right, now let's talk about Obi Toppin real quick, because I watched his post-game interview with the reporter after he wins, and I just thought this was funny, so I had to pull the clip. But he credits God. Just watch it.
Third one, the one I just got at the end, I was supposed to get on my third one, but God didn't want me to get on third one. He wanted me to finish off with that one, so we're gonna live with that.
and I was watching it, and I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure God has, I don't know what God's doing in this moment right now, but I'm pretty sure that God has more important things on his plate than to help Obi Toppin decide which dunk he's going to do first or third. Like come on, bro.
Third one, the one I just got at the end, I was supposed to get on my third one, but God didn't want me to get on third one. He wanted me to finish off with that one, so we're gonna live with that.
God, really?
Countdown, right? So God was on the countdown. He was keeping track of what Obi Toppin was doing.
Damn, man.
Headed towards the hoop. Are you kidding me?
If God was helping Obi Toppin during the slam dunk contest, then God must really be omnipresent. I mean, he must really be everywhere, man. Because
absolutely, he must have a sliver of each of each NBA team and creating his own jersey. Come on, man.
Obi freaking
Really?
Toppin. Now, you know what? Like, I do like Obi Toppin because he came back. He won last year, came back again. He joins guys like Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson to win it back-to-back years. You don't see a lot of superstars that are bigger than most other superstars, participate in this competition. We have never seen LeBron James participate in this competition. People want to see Zion Williamson. He has not participated. And it's hard because you got to be creative. You got to be really good. I mean, you got to be, all of them. And you got to be smooth. You got to go on the first dunk.
We've seen every dunk possible. There isn't one that can even give us anything at all that say, "Oh, wow, that's new, that's different." No,
it's already been done, right?
Stuff. Everybody's done it. The jump over the guy standing there with the ball, throws it up in the middle. I mean,
Blake Griffin jumped over a car, but he didn't jump over the car. He jumped over the hood of the car. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could jump over the hood of like a smart car or a Miata. But I wanted to see him jump over the actual base of the car, the whatever, the cab. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I could jump over a motorcycle. I
thought that was overrated.
On the side of it, what's
the best dunk you've seen? If you can, off the top of your head.
The best dunk that I've seen, I don't know the player, but I remember the actual dunk. Like, it was done with complete authority, where he had the ball tossed up to him. He bounced it off the rim. He does this like cartwheel with the ball from left to right, and then he slams it home with his offsetting hand.
I want to say maybe Aaron Gordon, maybe, or one of those guys. It was like recently, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Michael Jordan jumping from the free throw line, because I had that poster, and when he's in the air and he's just so elevated, and at that moment, nobody was jumping as high as Michael Jordan. I mean, this guy had springs in his legs, and it just that iconic shot of him floating through the air, and everybody just like in awe. So I'm always gonna go with that one. I mean, there's been some great ones, but yeah, I feel like there's a lot more overrated dunks in slam dunk contests. Absolutely. And I agree. It's time to at least switch it up and let the 3-point contest be the highlight of the night.
Sure, absolutely. Shout out to Maria, who decided to say hello, guys.
Yeah, shout out to Maria Lascuna. She's been a very staunch supporter of the show. We appreciate you so much, Maria.
Absolutely.
And Bill said so. We're live on CoachellaValley.com, today'sCalifornia.com, today'sCanada.com. Now let's just get the meme of the day out of the way, because it relates to the slam dunk contest. So the meme of the day comes to us from Madeline Burke. And she says the evolution of this dunk contest over the years. And this is when Shaq was young and the slam dunk contest was exciting. And then obviously you see his face now, not nearly as exciting as it once was. It is just ridiculous. I think that it's time to wipe away with this thing for real. Like it just was not. It just was not up to par. But so we also saw, the All-Star festivities were in Cleveland, okay, and we saw Steph Curry have a milestone performance, a career performance, historic. He dropped 16 3-pointers. He obviously has the record for the most in a All-Star game. I believe before that, the previous record was 9. But yeah, so he has 16 3-pointers. He dropped 50 points. The game was capped off while Team LeBron winning 163-160, because it's the first to 163. LeBron James hits the game winner off of a turnaround fadeaway shot. It was perfect to end the night. But we also saw, that LeBron James has been in the news recently, and they're talking about maybe LeBron James would return to Cleveland. Now, Rudy Reyes, you know that LeBron James may not be a Laker for that much longer. I mean, we obviously know that he's signing these small short-term deals, and that, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, will be in the NBA shortly in the next couple of years. He is eligible to play in the NBA in 2024, and it is fully LeBron James' intent to play alongside his son and become the first father-son duo to play in the NBA on the same team. But it is also just kind of concerning what's going on in Cleveland right now, because the first time that they lured him back to Cleveland, you had Kyrie Irving playing at an all-time level. The team started looking good, and he started eyeing over there and said, man, maybe I'll go back to Cleveland. Now we have the same exact situation with Darius Garland playing in the All-Star game, Jarrett Allen playing at an all-time high right now, Evan Mobley probably becoming the Rookie of the Year. Now Cleveland is looking like an attractive spot for LeBron James to potentially land back a third time. When asked by a reporter this week, LeBron James said that he is not ruling out the possibility of a return to Cleveland. Rudy Reyes, what are your thoughts?
Not happening. And here's why.
What?
If you're not happening, no, not on this planet, not in my lifetime. And here's why. If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, just like all the other NBA teams, you want a younger roster. You don't want an old timer. No offense, LeBron James, I love you to death, man, but it's not going to happen for a couple of reasons. You don't want an older guy leading the franchise, locking them up, and their money's up, and now you have to look to him for overall leadership. You already have that in Cleveland. You have a winning formula in Cleveland. Why bring back a guy who's only going to be there for a couple of years, maybe could leave the Lakers this offseason, go back to Cleveland, and then go to another team and then come back to Cleveland? No, it's just not going to happen. Cleveland is working.
You say Cleveland won't do it, or LeBron won't do it?
Cleveland won't have it. They're not going to take LeBron James back. Are you kidding me?
He's the prodigal son, though.
No, it doesn't matter. Prodigal, logical, perennial.
Are you
what
rapping?
other word do you want to use? I could. Just give me some. You give me some tape and wallpaper, and I'll show you a rap. No, I'm just saying that when you look at the Cavaliers, you have to recognize that this is a young man's game. LeBron James is not that young man. He's not anymore. He's served his purpose. He's done his thing. He's won his chips. He wants to play with his son. Let him go play in a sandbox or get him a one-on-one, okay? And the reason why I say this, and I'm not clowning LeBron James or his son by any means, Bronny is not ready yet, okay? He needs to be coached up. He needs to be fathered up. He needs to play in the G League. There's more potential with him playing in G League and having LeBron James in the offseason watch his son play to coach him up, to father him up, to give him tips and tricks and tools of the trade that he's going to need in his toolbox as he gets to the NBA and a starting role somewhere. I don't care where it is. It's not going to be in Cleveland. Cavaliers won't need him in Cleveland. Cavaliers are in great shape right about now, probably for the next 2 or 3 years. And they're set from a financial standpoint. They're not over the cap. They're right within their means. They're going to play within their means, and they're winning within their means. So to go off and have LeBron James go back to no, it's just no.
I mean, he does provide that kind of leadership and experience role for a young roster. We thought that the first time when he came over to the Lakers,
they already have it.
When he came to the Lakers, they had an up and coming roster. We had Josh Hart, you had Lonzo Ball, you had Brandon Ingram. These are Kyle Kuzma, all young guys with so much talent and potential. Sure. And you thought that LeBron James would be able to squeeze the most out of it and get the juice at the end of the day, but they weren't able to. They had to revamp the roster, and none of those guys are playing with the team right now. So
James.
You're right.
They're all off earning their own chips, making their own money, making their own name for themselves without someone by the name of LeBron James helping them out. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be.
And they're all doing better now. They're all doing better now that they're not playing with LeBron James. Alonzo Ball got paid. Kyle Kuzma's balling in Washington. Brandon Ingram is one of the best players in the league.
There you go.
When healthy. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I rest my case. Wherever Bronny goes, I'm sure that LeBron James will follow, but follow him in the G League. LeBron James probably goes
Imagine
to another
LeBron
team.
in the G League.
He's going to be on the sidelines in the G League.
Bronny is right now. Bronny is projected to be maybe a second-round draft pick. So he might not even get drafted right now. He's got to rise to stop.
He has the ability to do it, but that's only if he plays in the G League for the next couple of years after graduating. And then at that point, if Bronny gets drafted and LeBron James can still play, then go play where your son is playing and call it a day and make history. Go play with the Mavs.
Oh man, for the Agua Caliente Clippers. Ooh.
Oh gosh.
I mean, he would literally. I could definitely see. I mean, do you think LeBron James would actually play in the G League just to play with his son? I mean, it could happen. It really could happen.
That's a serious step down, though. I mean, you're
Nah, he ain't
it
doing
would
that.
almost
He ain't
be
doing that.
unfair for LeBron James to do that. I like I said, I see LeBron James sitting with street clothes on, ready to coach his son up wherever he comes to the sidelines for a break or a breather or whatever, and he'll have that right to do it at that point. But not now,
Yeah.
and not with the Cavaliers anytime soon. May as well close that door, put a deadbolt on it, take the door, and throw it in the ocean, because it's just not going to happen. Rebecca chiming in. Good evening, Rebecca.
We
Thanks for
appreciate
tuning
you,
in. We
Rebecca,
appreciate it.
and Andrea or Andrea. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but she says hi. She gave us the heart in a
Potato.
All right, Rudy, let them know where they can find you at, brother.
Hey, you guys can go to @RudDogReyes on Twitter, but if that's not your flavor, you can always go to Facebook on my fan page. Check me out there, Rudy Reyes. Or you can go to Instagram. You can go to LinkedIn. You can find me basically anywhere. And if you don't see this face, it's not me.
You can find me on Twitter at Radio Barry Long. You can find me on IG at Barry Long II, and you can find me on Facebook at Barry Long II, the same way it's written right here. Stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, you're capable of doing anything. So go out and do it. We will see you tomorrow, 7:30 sharp.
Get her done.
Peace.